talking about water. It's agenda item number 6, and I have a pleasure to welcome our guests of honor, and I will invite them to the podium. Oliver Röpke, who is the President of European Economic and Social Committee, Jessika Roswall, European Commissioner for Environment, Water Resilience and Competitive Circular Economy, and Thomas Bajada, who is member of the European Parliament and the rapporteur on European Resilience Strategy. Also, I had the honor to give the award to him as we have this award, the European Parliament's Best Newcomer category. He was one of the awarded ones. So, I'll greet my guests. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for coming to today's plenary session. I will cut short my speech to buy more time for our members. Water is the main source of anxiety for me, but we share this thing all across, especially now in this heat all across Europe. I will give the floor first to Oliver. Please, he as the president, your mandate is soon ending, but you will continue to work in a very important position for the ILO. So we are congratulating you on this new opportunity. But still, as president of our sister or brother institution, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, dear President, dear Kata, dear Commissioner, dear Jessika, dear Thomas, and honorable members. It's really a big pleasure to be here, and I would like to start by thanking you, Kata, for the invitation. It's the first time that I have the pleasure to address you during your mandate, and therefore I would still like to congratulate you on your election, and I'm sure that this mandate will be very fruitful, successful, and I have to say I'm really proud over the last years about our enhanced and strong cooperation between our two committees. I think we have shown that together we are stronger, and if it comes to cohesion policy, housing, and now I think hopefully also water resilience, I think we share a lot of our positions, and therefore once again thank you very much for this. As I address you today here, I'm really proud to reaffirm that the European Economic and Social Committee is also at the forefront of the call for a comprehensive water strategy at the EU level. Almost 2 years ago, we published our idea for an EU Blue Deal, stressing that water needs to be on top of the agenda, make it a political priority that should underpin all European policies. And we were clear, we said that the EU needs a Blue Deal alongside its Green Deal, because water isn't just about the environment, it has also a social component, and it is a key factor for the future of our industries. It impacts our agriculture, it is crucial for ensuring peace and security in our society, and it affects our biodiversity. We all depend on water. As we have seen from the UN Ocean Conference in Nice and looking ahead at the UN Water Conference next year, water resources even have strong diplomatic and geopolitical consequences. We very much appreciated the cooperation with the European Parliament and with the Committee of the Regions. The ESC is looking forward to working with all of you in the future. Stakeholders platform that hopefully will be established. Because this is also one of our key demands of our Blue Deal declaration. I think we have to ensure a cross-societal participation in this endeavour. Indeed, consultation and involvement of stakeholders and civil society will be key in delivering water resilience and security in all areas of society, thanks to their presence on the ground and their ability to mobilise people to take action. I am deeply convinced that regional and local authorities have a big role to play in supporting water resilience in their communities, in ensuring access to clean water for all citizens, in managing infrastructures and water treatment, and in bringing together stakeholders to foster sustainable water management across different sectors. We also witnessed strong support from those very stakeholders and citizens after the launch of our initiative. A European Citizens Initiative is currently underway, reflecting many of the actions that we had called for. This is also a clear illustration that water is at the core of the concerns of all Europeans. So we in the ESC, we remain ready to work together in making this EU Blue Deal a reality, which can answer the needs of all citizens, industries and consumers, as well as protecting the environment from growing water challenges. Water is our most important resource, so it should be one of our most important political concerns. As I had the occasion to convey to Commissioner Roswall, the first commissioner with this portfolio, which was also one of our key demands in our Blue Deal declaration, I think your portfolio is really crucial to achieving the goals set out. And we strongly welcome the publication of the Water Resilience Strategy. It is a very important step into the right direction, but the road ahead is still long, because water needs to be properly reflected in key EU policy areas beyond environmental and climate policies, including agricultural, industrial policies, consumption, energy and finance. Water, preparedness, defence and competitiveness go hand in hand. And looking at the recent Clean Industrial Deal, we regret to see no consistent reference to water in the plan. When focusing on long-term sustainability and on our competitive edge, Europe's industrial base needs to focus not only in achieving decarbonisation, but also in becoming water resilient. So both need to be done at the same time and not in sequence. An approach which focuses only on one of these angles will fail our industries and citizens, in particular in light of the recent geopolitical challenges. On the other hand, we need to ensure the availability of the right skills. Like any industrial change, also the Blue Deal will succeed only if it has the resources to implement it, both in terms of financing and human resources. And this approach will preserve jobs and create new career opportunities for workers, especially in clean technologies. But for this, we need to ensure synergies with the Union of Skills, which currently lacks any mention of water. I have a few other points, but I will stop here. But I think it is important that also we need the financial instruments capable of supporting this new transition. We had called for water to be adopted as a strategic priority in the next MFF. And at the same time, we have proposed to set up an EU Blue Deal, Blue Transition Fund as one-stop shop for water financing at EU level. So thank you once again very much for the invitation and look forward to this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Thank you. And now I'll give the floor to Commissioner Roswall.
Thank you very much, President De Cata, Oliver De Thomas, and ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me to address the plenary today. And let me begin by underlining the vital role that the Committee of Regions plays in general, and in particular regarding on my portfolio. The committee has played a key role in shaping Europe's approach to water resilience, and your engagement and leadership have been instrumental in ensuring that the voices of regions and local communities, those who are in the front lines of water challenges, are fully reflected in the EU new strategy. I started this week in Andalusia in Spain, a region where sustainable water management is a central issue. It was for me a good reminder of the importance of our common work to strengthen Europe's water resilience. Your opinion, alongside with the European Economic and Social Committee and own initiative report from the European Parliament, has been crucial in, as I said, in giving the water resilience strategy democratic depth and political weight. You have helped us to elevate water from a technical issue to a political priority. This priority now cuts across environmental, economical, social, security and cohesion policies, and that is an achievement in itself. To prepare our strategy, we consulted widely, including the major water users and other stakeholders from all member states. I therefore believe that the strategy enjoys broad support. But let me be clear, the strategy on paper is not enough. What we need now is implementation, coordination and the political resolve. And here the region and local authorities will be central, because you are the ones who are delivering water services, managing floods and droughts, investing in infrastructure and working every day with citizens and businesses. So in your opinion, you rightly call for an ambitious and comprehensive approach that integrates water quality, quantity, governance, innovation and resilience, and that is exactly what we have delivered. Our first objective is to restore the water cycle. We must retain more water in our soils, forests and wetlands and ensure the quality of water that it is preserved by tackling main pollution threats. Second, we must build a water-smart economy. We must promote reuse and enhance efficiency in all sectors. And in this context, we also adopted a recommendation on water efficiency first, and again, supported by your opinion. It includes an aspirational target to increase EU water efficiency by 10% already by 2030. This is not legally binding because it's a strong regional disparities, but we will help member states through benchmark and methodology to set water efficiency targets. And third, we must ensure clean, affordable water for all, recognizing this as a human right. To achieve these goals, the strategy set out 30 concrete actions. I will not go into all of them. Let me highlight some of the key political priorities. First, governance. We will launch structural dialogues with every member state and organise a water resilience forum every 2 years, starting in December. This will allow us to assess progress, coordinate efforts and maintain political momentum. We will also revise the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, not just to streamline processes, but to strengthen Europe's collective ability to protect its seas and coasts. And this is also essential for our water systems. Second, funding. We are facing an estimate of 23 billion euros annual investment gap. And that is why we are working closely with European Investment Bank, which has committed to mobilise 15 billion euros on the next 3 years. And also a new sustainable water management facility and also proposed water resilient investment accelerated will help to crowd private capital and remove investment barriers. Third, digitalisation. From real-time leak detection to AI-powered drought prediction. EU must become a global leader in water tech. We are preparing a digitalisation action plan for water sector. We are also launching an EU Water Academy, a research and development strategy, and new knowledge in an innovation community. A fourth priority is to take urgent structural action to address floods and droughts. These are major challenges to our society and to our economies. We will help member states to identify those risks and protect their water infrastructure. We will also strengthen the Union's civil protection mechanism and the European Solidarity Fund to support member states in managing water-related disasters. Finally, the strategy has a clear global dimension to steer up cooperation with international partners, unlock new markets and promote cross-border water management. Colleagues, we are at the crossroad. The cost of inaction is growing every day. Climate change is accelerating, and so is the pressure on our water systems from agriculture, industry, urbanization, and energy. The longer we delay, the higher the cost for people, for nature, and for our economies. At the same time, there are also great opportunities for Europe in this area. We have a strong legal framework, leading companies in water management, and a clear ability to show leadership internationally. So this strategy is a call for action, not only on national governments, but to all levels of government, and most importantly, to the regions and cities of Europe. So your partnership is essential. So let us rise to this challenge together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you very much for coming. I'll give the floor now to Thomas Bajada.
Aziza President Tutto.
Dear President Tutto, Commissioner Roswall, dear colleagues. It is an honor for me to be addressing this committee today. you are the representatives of the same regions that are directly facing an incessant crisis. We're here talking about people's lives, economic survival, competitiveness, and the very ability of Europe to act swiftly in adapting to a changing climate. As the European Parliament's rapporteur for the European Water Resilience Strategy Initiative, and also as a citizen of a Mediterranean island, I deem this crisis to be both urgent and also personal. Because for us Maltese, as for many of you across Europe, water is not just a utility. It is survival, dignity, and identity. And today I would like to share with you a very simple message. Europe must act urgently and fairly to protect our water and the communities that depend on it. And this is the very spirit that guided our work in Parliament.
It's people and the regions at the centre of the solution, because we know that the water crisis is not the future. It happens in the fields just yesterday in Piemonte, it happens in the fields of Francia, in the rivers of Wallonia, and in the homes of families in Andalusia and Sardinia. We listened and delivered direction, fairness and support. Our report is built around 6 strategic pillars: water efficiency, pollution prevention, climate adaptation, investment and funding, digitalisation and cross-border cooperation. But what matters the most are our concrete, ambitious, yet feasible calls behind these pillars. We called for a legislative framework for sectoral water efficiency and abstraction targets, not voluntary and not vague 10% across the board, but fair, measurable and enforceable targets adapted to the needs of each region, the realities of each sector and the flow of each river. And that's because that is exactly how equity looks like. We called for mainstreaming of water across all EU policies, no more fragmentation between sectors or between regional and national borders. Water is our lifeline, and hence it must be a priority across the board. We called for clear and immediate action to tackle pollution from source to sea, including PFAS. The Commission must act now, backed by enforceable timelines and interim solutions. Our citizens cannot wait for pilot projects and lengthy revisions, while their health is already at risk. Dear Commissioner, action means prevention, not cleaning up pollution, but stopping it at its source. We called for a scale-up of nature-based solutions, not just frameworks, but real investment in sponge cities, floodplains and restoration, because nature is the solution. And finally, we call loud and clear for a dedicated funding line. In the upcoming multi-annual financial framework dedicated to water resilience, a clear and visible line to reflect the urgency on the ground and to unlock funding for our regions in order to invest in the upgrading of their infrastructures, tackle leakages and support non-conventional sources and water reuse.
And this brings me to you, dear colleagues of the Committee of Regions, because none of this is possible without you. You are not just those who implement this. You are the front line. You live the crisis and you lead the response. So let me say this clearly. EU action must support your different realities and needs. And this means flexible tools, accessible funding, and policies that reflect the diverse geographies of this union, from the Baltic to the Adriatic, from the Mediterranean islands to the Atlantic coast. Therefore, let's make this the moment where we stop reacting and instead we start acting proactively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of our guests. And now I will open the floor. 33 people asked for the floor, so it depends on you how many will get it. I will give the floor first to Mirjam Sterk.
Thank you, President. In the Netherlands and in my own province of Utrecht, we have been living with water for centuries. And in the western part of Utrecht, we have those characteristically Dutch peat meadows, you know, the areas where the cows are walking near the drainage canals. It's the ideal environment for our #1 meadow bird, the black-tailored godwit. And we had the honor and pleasure of welcoming you there, Mrs. Roswall, a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, this area is already experiencing the effects of climate change, which is accelerating land subsidence. Our region is implementing innovative solutions to cope with this new reality. But because this area is so specific to our region, it requires tailored policy. And that is why we strongly support the water resilience strategy recognition that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. In the southern part of Utrecht, a branch of the Rhine River connects us to the areas much further inland in Europe. But that connectedness also means we face the consequences of what happens upstream. Water does not recognize borders the way we do. Our water quality suffers from pollution originating elsewhere in Europe, particularly concerning PFAS. Given how harmful PFAS is to water quality, I would strongly advocate for a complete ban on this use. I understand that in some specific cases, phasing out PFAS entirely may be challenging. However, as the Netherlands is the largest river delta in Europe, polluted water inevitably flows downstream to us. And since PFAS is extremely difficult to remove from water, it's for the better to tackle it at the source and prevent pollution in the first place. I would therefore like to emphasize that a source-to-sea approach, especially when it comes to pollution, must be included in the Commission's policy. Funding mechanisms that encourage cross-border cooperation are an excellent tool to support this. This is the very essence of Europe, working together on issues that are inherently supranational. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aleksandra Dulkiewicz.
Thank you very much. I will speak in Polish. Przemawiam także w imieniu Europejskiej Partii Ludowej, ale chcę się podzielić
I would like to speak on behalf of the EPP. I would like to say something about our experience in Gdansk. I'm very happy to see that the European Commission has presented the strategy, but like my colleague has underlined, the role of cities and regions when it comes to fighting floods and excessive heat, they have a key role to play. If I were to take the example of my city, we've in fact received awards for our approach. Every new investor has to set up so-called rainwater gardens to try and collect rainwater. We have 200 such small investment projects for rainwater harvesting. So let's not forget the role of cities and local authorities when it comes to the water strategy. The European Commission strategy also talks about strategic administration. Without cooperating with regions and cities, there's no talk of strategic management of crises or crisis prevention. We're looking at excessive temperatures in Andalusia and Spain and Poland as well. And in the past, we had floods in the same regions. In Austria as well, the situation is the same. That is why we need more funding for water retention, for education as well. We need training provided in the sector to ensure that these sectors can react well during crises. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes now to Luca Menasini.
Hello, I will speak in Italian. Caro Presidente.
President Carter, Commissioner Roswall, Mr. Röpke, Mr. Bajada, colleagues, the Mexican Nobel Prize winner for literature, Octavio Paz, said, "Water talks unceasingly, but never repeats itself." Today, water is speaking to us, shouting at us even about its difficult situation, the need to manage it better and more fairly, of its scarcity and excess, of how essential it is to life on this planet, but also of how fragile our territories can be if they are not protected. That is why we're talking about water resilience today. But I wonder whether people outside Brussels really know what we're talking about or what we want to do. What does resilience really mean? It means having the means to deal with crises, defend our well-being and our territory. At the political level, both locally and at other levels, we need to deal with conflicts between different demands for a limited resource, water for citizens, water for agriculture and for various industrial uses such as production, services and tourism. It's not enough to look after your own backyard, your own garden. Look at what's happening in Africa. There are consequences here and across the Mediterranean. We need universal access to water. It is a right. Every woman and man on this planet has the right of access to water. So this should be an objective for 2030, which goes beyond fine words. The Commission strategy refers to protecting water, protecting the environment against pollution, allowing for smart use of water in agriculture, reducing water consumption, improving reuse and reducing loss through digital instruments. As socialists and democrats, the key point for us is water as a public good. It is a service of general interest. Water management cannot be for companies to make a profit and decide themselves on prices. We need to ensure that at regional, national and European level, crucial decisions are being taken that will allow future generations to have access to the water that we have access to. Resilience does not exist without responsible access and responsible use of water, including the polluter pays principle. European funds for adaptation to climate change. We're pleased to see that you and the President have decided that water should be a priority over the next few years. It's vital to local governance. The EU needs to act together as soon as possible. It's good to see the COR making water a priority over the coming years, looking at climate change too. Water is not only a resource and a common good, it is something that binds the different generations together. If we want a fairer, more resilient Europe, which is closer to people, we need to start there. Water is for everyone. It should be a symbol of a new form of social and environmental justice. A Europe of territories, a clean public water as an aim is actually the aim of democracy itself, and we cannot let the few come ahead of the many.
Honourable Commissioner, Madam President, members, colleagues, the Commissioner and I met a few months ago in the Netherlands, so nice to see you again. I fully agree with you. Water is finite and increasingly vulnerable resource for us all. And access to clean and sufficient water is a human right and a matter of security. Building water resilience means preparing our union for future crises, climate-related, ecological or geopolitical. And the name of my country, I live in the Netherlands, literally means lowlands. So much of it lies below sea level. And water has been our enemy and our ally for centuries. We combine prevention and spatial planning with public awareness, crisis management and resilient recovery. At Renew, we welcome the water resilience strategy. I recognise many elements of Dutch water policy in it. And the source-to-sea approach, addressing both quantity and quality, is essential. And we support also water reuse, the sponge effect of soils and better monitoring. Linking water to agriculture, industry and spatial planning is also as crucial. In my region, North Holland, we apply those principles, for example, along our coast. We restore dunes to enhance flood protection and biodiversity. A former horticultural area has become a nature and recreation zone with water storage, providing its value during extreme rainfall. On Texel, a 3-kilometre sand dike works with the sea natural dynamics, combining safety, nature and recreation. But we still have concerns. At first, groundwater. Sponge cities are promising, but not enough. Our groundwater systems are out of balance. A broader vision is urgently needed. Second, river water's quality. Coordination under the Water Framework Directive is often lacking. Downstream countries suffer upstream pollution. Stronger cross-border cooperation is needed. Third, climate adaptation. This should be central to the strategy, but ambition is still lacking. We welcome the attention to PFAS. Monitoring and research are important, but also not enough. We urge the Commission to focus on prevention and enforce strong liability for polluters. Restoring the water cycle alone won't remove PFAS. But we also support the recognition that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Regional tailoring is essential. The success of this strategy depends on regional expertise, and we are ready to contribute and support sharing knowledge across Europe. Let us build a water-resilient Europe together, with ambition, cooperation and nature as our ally. Thank you.
Thank you. Dagmar Škodová-Parmová.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear Commissioner Roswall, dear President, the EU Water Resilience Strategy is a positive first step in addressing the numerous challenges related to the use of water, its scarcity and water-related risks. I want to underline, in the first place, the responsibility of Member States in managing this key resource. However, given the growing challenges of flooding and water stress, which is having a huge impact on human well-being, the economy and key sectors like energy, agriculture and food security, the EU has an important role in supporting effective and coordinated responses across the Union. Where we need to see coordinated action is in better investments in more resilient infrastructure and innovation, as well as ensuring security and preparedness for territories and regions. In my own country, the Czech Republic, we experienced severe flooding in September 2024, forcing thousands of people to evacuate their homes. As a mayor of a town, České Budějovice, the situation brought me to take the decision to evacuate more than 800 people whose lives were at risk. The floods that hit Czechia and my region in South Bohemia are extreme weather-related events and that require preparedness and local resilience. We, as local and regional authorities, are better prepared to understand the needs of our communities and territories. We welcome that the European Commission's proposal does not contain new regulations, which would be burdensome for local authorities, but rather focuses on better implementation and enforcement of current legislation. Having territories that are better prepared for floods and droughts also minimises the impact of natural disasters on strategic economic sectors like agriculture or the wine sector, as we have just discussed. Investments in technology and innovation are crucial to improving water quality and water management. Many territories in the EU still face problems related to the presence of PFAS and nutrient pollution in waters. And we all know that Europe is a powerhouse for research, but we often fail in translating that research into innovation and economic growth in terms of water infrastructure solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The floor goes now to Declan MacDonald.
Thank you, President, Commissioner and colleagues. Climate change is bringing more frequent droughts and floods, threatening our ecosystems, agriculture and communities. Water is a strategic asset for our economy and security. Yet our water resources face pollution, overuse and uneven distribution across regions. We need a broad EU approach to water resilience that recognises water value and empowers every level of government. Last year our committee adopted an opinion by my group colleague Carol van der Loo on creating an EU Blue Deal from an agriculture and rural development perspective. There we already called for a long-term water resilience strategy, with water recognised as a strategic priority for the EU in the next MFF. My own city, Galway, given our location in the wild Atlantic Way, is exposed to heavy rainfall and flooding due to Atlantic storms, but is also experiencing longer dry spells in summer due to climate change. We have in the past faced water contamination crises, including Cryptosporidium outbreak in 2007 that affected thousands. But this has been addressed mainly by heavy investment in water safety infrastructure. For tourism, not only do we need clean water for living, but we also need to have clean coastal and inland waters, which is necessary to maintain that unique environment we have. Concluding water must be treated as a strategic priority for European future, and local and regional authorities must be fully involved in shaping and implementing water policy and respecting the subsidiary principle. We need innovation and natural-based solutions to boost resilience against droughts and floods. We also emphasise cooperation across river basins and borders, and the need that agriculture is taken into account with CAP funding boosting efficient water use and resilience on the ground.
Thank you very much. The floor goes now to Nate Smole.
Thank you very much, dear Chair, dear guests. Thank you for bringing this crucial and one of the most important topics to the table today. It has been almost 2 months with no real rain and the highest recorded temperatures in June ever in Slovenia right now. Drought is already here and worsening day by day. But you know, less than 2 years ago we had a catastrophic flood. These patterns all over Europe are putting growing pressure on our aquatic ecosystems, harming human health, destroying homes, costing billions in damages, and worst cases, taking lives. We urgently need an integrated and holistic approach to water management, one that addresses water quality, quantity, and all the climate risks. As local and regional authorities, our role is in the central. We are the first responders to water-related disasters. We just returned from a study visit in Valencia, where we could first-hand see what catastrophic consequences the floods last October had. With disasters like this happening all around Europe, we must prepare adequate water policies. We need work with nature, never against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina Menéndez Álvarez.
Gracias, Presidenta. El pasado...
Thank you, Presidency. In March, in Madrid, we had the most rain we've ever had for 135 years. The emergency services in Madrid and the infrastructure, water infrastructure investment and a strategic water plan we were able to avoid major incidents and keep our reservoirs full. Providing water at times of scarcity and dealing with emergencies is all part of the EU strategy. Whilst the water resilience strategy helps protect the water cycle, improve water resilience generally to ensure that water is affordable and clean, available for all. In Madrid, we'll be able to make a contribution, particularly through a new canal dam system, which will provide resilience over nearly 200 years. Over the period up to 2030, we'll have over 2 billion. The Isabel II canal will allow us to have clean, properly signed, available water for all citizens.
Thank you, President. I'm a mayor at the Lake Balaton, and I'd like to call your attention to the fact that lakes are extremely important in circular water circulation. Lakes are extremely important in ensuring the quality and quantity of freshwater reserves. And lakes are also important in terms of the economy, in terms of culture, and they contribute to tourism, fishing, recreational opportunities, and are parts of a lot of communities' identity and history. We have done a lot to acknowledge the role of lakes and lake areas. Therefore, I deplore that the water resilience strategy do not contain these points. I welcome that the strategy has been approved, and I trust that future policy quality work will focus more on lakes, because beyond the ecology, they play an important role in societies and in economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you to everyone. I'd like to just tell you about something we're doing in the metropolitan city of Milan. For the reasons that I was saying, we've looked at the water management companies and allowed them to work on water conservation as well. So we're working on sustainable urban drainage systems. Of course, all built-up areas need to work on how to harvest rain work against droughts. And so we're putting in place taking away concrete and trying to work on in other ways to work on our green capital that's there. Rainwater storage means that we can use that, and it helps the natural water cycle as well. So we're using an NGO, and we can provide you with information for that system.
Dear Commissioner, Mrs. President, as we debate Europe's water resilience, let me share a very local example. In my municipality, we worked with Luxembourg's Water Management Agency on a simple, nature-based plan to prevent flooding, using straw bundles in nearby farmland to slow water runoff. Yet, 4 years after the last devastating floods, implementation remains minimal. Why? Because landowners and farmers have refused to cooperate, claiming that such measures would interfere with their agricultural activities, thereby stalling progress and leaving citizens frustrated, vulnerable and without protection. This is not unique. Across Europe, local governments are ready to act but face structural barriers on rural land. If we are serious about water resilience, we must link EU agricultural subsidies to cooperation on such flood protection measures. It's not about punishment, it's about partnership for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Markku Markkula.
Arvoisa puheenjohtaja.
Madam President, Madam Commissioner, shortly I would like to mention that around Europe there is a lot of experience on how to live together with nature, how to make use of technology, and especially I'm looking at Northern Europe, at Finland and Sweden. We have made use of water for hundreds of years. We have working water systems. We are able to protect clean waters, and we also clean used waters, and I believe that this know-how should be made use of in Europe. Also, within Europe, we have a common joint zero pollution stakeholder platform that is a good example of how to share know-how, and this is a collaboration between the committee and the Commission.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you to Commissioner Roswall for your commitment on these issues. Water is an essential resource for people, the economy and the environment, and it's good that this issue of water is being mentioned higher up the political agenda in the EU. We know that the strategy builds on existing legislation. Member states have different points of departure. One size does not fit all, in fact. It's particularly important that we work close to the local authorities and regional authorities because they understand how water works locally and regionally. It's also good that the strategy underscores preventative measures close to the source, and the idea of the polluter pays principle has to apply. That's essential to have sustainable solutions for the environment and for the economy. Sweden also wants to underscore the importance of having sufficient data, and that EU resources can still be used for investments in water. To build a genuine water resilient union, we have to have strong action, strong local commitment and continued respect for the conditions in member states.
Give you more time and we'll come back to you later. Okay, Maria del Mar Vaquero.
Gracias, Presidente.
Thank you, ladies, gentlemen. We're talking about water, prosperity, identity and the future. This is where we are now making a big statement to say that we don't need the Ebro Dam. This is not a solution. We need to look for further alternatives. This is a unanimous position that we have in Aragon. We've been in the streets, we've gone in the institutions, and we have 16,500 cubic meters involved here. This is why we continue to search for sustainable alternatives. We really don't feel that this is an acceptable solution if we look at this from an environmental point of view. It's going to cost a lot of money, and we really do feel that the Water Pact is absolutely crucial, and we need a water policy which is based on solidarity, but we want to make sure that we don't take something away from one area to give to another.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Shockingly, 20% of the European territory and 30% of Europeans face water stress annually. This situation jeopardizes our food security, energy production and manufacturing processes, increasing the risks of conflicts within local communities. We must insist on shaping and improving EU-wide water strategy, which would establish water management as a long-term strategy, which incorporates water considerations in all relevant policies, including agriculture, energy, tourism and other sectors. Therefore, we should move away from a crisis management approach towards an integrated strategy approach. Given the limited and increasingly pressured nature of water resources, our first priority should be to prevent water leakages. Large-scale leakages in the face of growing scarcity are simply unacceptable, but we have them all over Europe. There is a general lack of awareness surrounding water leakages, which is exacerbated by underinvestment in maintenance and renewal of water infrastructure. Therefore, we should ensure that local and regional authorities have easier and direct access to EU funds to finance necessary development, maintenance and digitalization of water infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Victoria Civit.
Buenas tardes. En Navarra estamos trabajando.
Thank you. In Navarra, we're working on the water cycle strategy.
water is a fundamental good, and it's important for it to be accessible and respect the environment. Climate change is a reality that affects the availability of water. It's a very important part of farming and industry as well, and therefore farming needs water and industry as well. We therefore need to modernise irrigation so it's more efficient in the use of water, but also we need proper water infrastructure which goes from the north to the south so that we have quality water for the whole of the region. The north has it at the moment and the south needs quality water for consumption. We have improved purifying processes. We are digitalising water management as well. We've seen significant floods. We've also seen years of drought. We need to focus on managing digitalisation, proper access with infrastructure that's modern for management and circularity. Thank you.
Thank you. In my home region of Stockholm, as well as all over Europe, water is both a lifeline and a growing risk. And this debate reflects leadership and governance in this area is not anymore just to prepare for excess, but for drought, disruption and volatility. Planning, investing and governing with water in mind is by this not only about climate adaptation, it's about health, security and long-term growth as well. And indeed, in this context, it's about time we clearly start to treat water not as a passive utility, but as a strategic asset. And building water resilience for the future requires more than new investments. It demands coordinated action across local, regional, national and European levels. Investments, yes, but also a framework for improved public-private partnership as well as the right kind of regulations. One size don't fit all. And we also need preparations for the unexpected. As Heraclitus once said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Resilience means embracing that change and designing for it, redesigning for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Loredana Capone.
Gentile President, colleagues, we need to take note of the fact that the water crisis is not a future risk, it's a current emergency. And unfortunately, it has many territories in its grip across Europe. Some regions are in a worse position than others. When it comes to water consumption, there are parts of Italy, particularly in the south, which are already facing water rationing. That's to say, for household use, for everyday use, let alone irrigation in the farming sector. So we need a cultural transformation. So many water treatment plants are not being properly used so that the water can be used for agriculture. All too often, reuse of water is not seen as a key idea for avoiding the use of drinking water. Construction companies need to build cisterns to store that water so that it could be reused. I think Europe can do a lot. So I think that that's the advice that Europe can give.
Karkalakis.
Ερχόμενος χθες αεροπορικός από την Αθήνα, παρατήρησα με λύπη τα αποτελέσματα.
Thank you. I have seen in Athens the results of the climate crisis. We have lakes without water and rivers without water, and this is all clearly visible from the plain. I come from a Greek island, and like all islands, this is facing very significant challenges. These are crises that would have been worse if we had not had in place a project for the proper use of water. The European Union must fund projects, water projects, to prepare for new climate conditions, to focus on reuse and also on purifying water, and also sustainability projects and a new framework which will be binding for all parties. Thank you.
Roberto Galtieri.
Grazie.
Thank you very much. Water resilience needs projecting, structural investment. It needs the necessary infrastructure to bring in the water, to channel the water, to transport the water, etc. And I think that water resilience should not just be a question of providing incentives, but we should ensure that we have proper strategic industrial approaches to this. We need proper reuse, and we need proper treatment centres. We need to have one single rule. We need to have proper rules to provide incentives to public-private partnerships. We also need AI, advanced intelligence structures, so that we can provide the necessary infrastructure and ensure that we create a proper water circular economy. And above all, we need adequate resources. We need reform of tariffs and the introduction of new funding initiatives at European level, blue bonds, to ensure that we get sustainable investment within the context of economic and climate change as we're seeing it today.
President. Grazie. Thank you, President. I salute the Commissioner and on the Honourable Thomas Bajada. I would like to continue from what others left off and to strengthen the fact that this is not a question of something which is happening now, but for our own islands, such as Gozo, this is a perennial problem. We feel this problem more. As local councils in Gozo, such as mine, we're taking rapid action, concrete action, such as when we build new roads, we take care of water infrastructure and reservoirs to be used by nearby farmers. This is used locally and nationally, so I appeal that we continue bringing forward this climatic change. Thank you very much. Gaetano Gavano.
Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you very much, President, Commissioner. Now, in Sicily, we've got 5 minutes of speaking time, but here we're not supposed to go beyond 1 minute. But we certainly do understand time management. Strategy for water resilience should help our territories and regions across Europe to rise to the challenges of natural catastrophes caused by flooding or extended periods of drought. Thanks to the excellent work that's been put in by the region of Sicily, with its president, Renato Schifani, working together with the national government, which is well run by Giorgia Meloni, that a fund has been set up to try and ensure that 3 desalination plants can be set up to produce drinking water. But the problem is serious. Time is passing, and the situation is not the same in different countries. Situations in different countries are different, and solutions will be different. I'd invite you to come to Sicily so that you can get a first-hand impression of the problems, but also the solutions to help to build the right strategy. Thank you very much.
The floor now to a young elected politician, because we haven't heard any. The floor will goes now to Hanna Schneehage.
It is my privilege to speak here today as a young elected politician and a mother of 2 young kids. My son is 5, and in his short years, we've seen 3 so-called century rainfalls near Hamburg. And northern Germany is not a hotspot for climate extremes. As a pioneer of the sponge city model, my city contributes to Europe's water resilience goals. One particularly holistic example from my constituency of Wandsbek is housing and neighborhood development. It uses a system called Hamburg Water Cycle and is also funded by the EU. Here, rain and wastewater will soon become a local resource, generating energy from black water, reusing rain and grey water, and boosting resilience by greening the city. This is a prime example of how we can turn climate pressure into potential. If we share ideas across borders, learn from one another, we can shape a climate-resilient Europe together. Thank you.
I will give the floor to Wolfram Leibe.
Wolfram Leibe.
Madam President, Commissioner, as a representative of German cities and towns, I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Roswall, for bringing this water resilience strategy to us. And what's essential is that you managed to find a compromise on sewage. But as municipalities, we have the responsibility for water treatment and sewage treatment, and this is a compromise which is very important for us, so thank you.
And for the last intervention, I will give the floor to the young elected politician, Goda Kosinskite. If here. Yes, please.
I'm sorry, there was a misspell. Dear committee, dear colleagues, I'm a local deputy from Petržalka, a vibrant part of Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. Like many other European cities, we are witnessing the growing impact of climate change, hotter summers, sudden downpours, and long dry spells. Last year made this especially clear when Danube flooded not only Bratislava but many other regions of Europe. Thanks to the support of the EU and EEA grants, we launched a pilot water retention project, introducing green roofs, permeable pavements, restored ponds, newly planted trees and greener public squares. Since 2022, our city has invited residents, NGOs and business to be part of this green transformation by supporting their efforts to implement nature-based climate-smart solutions. Over 1,000 projects has already come to life. But we cannot do this alone. Continued EU support is essential so we can scale faster and reach further. With help of EU, Bratislava has the potential to become a beacon of urban resilience where every drop of rain becomes a source of renewal and hope. Thanks to European solidarity, we move closer every day to a greener Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm closing the debate now. As always, there's always more people who would like to get the floor. I did my best. I will give back the floor to our guests and will ask them to be shorter than originally because we gave the floor to the members. So I will ask first Jessika Roswall to have some very short reactions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all your contribution. I will try to be short, and you can, of course, read more in the strategy. But one thing is, there is no quick fix. I agree, there is no one-size-fits-all. Yes, we need to have the source-to-sea approach. Yes, we don't focus on new legislation. We are focused on implementation. Floods and drought is all over Europe. Be sure no part of Europe is spared. This is the new normal. Yes, we need more cross-border cooperation. Yes, we need to be more prepared. Yes, we need to use the digitalization, the AI, the space. And yes, there are leakages that we need to approach. I mean, it's different in Europe, but from 8% leakages up to above 80% of leakages. Here I just want to say we need to share best practices because there is very many good examples around Europe where we actually have tackled a lot of these challenges. And that, of course, I'm very aware of that you are the ones who's tackling water management. Efficiency first. Just want to say something. Yes, we cannot continue to waste water, and I'm absolutely talking about how we must be better on reusing water. Quality of water, again, no part of Europe is spared. We're talking about both quantity but also quality. I will not go into details on PFAS, I've got questions on that, but that is of course one thing that we need to tackle both on the source and cleaning up. Finally, just want to say one positive, because we have a lot of challenges, yes, but we also have a potential here, because Innovation is key. Innovation in Europe is also strong. 40% of all patents is done in the European Union. We need to build on that and scale them up. Lastly, but absolutely not least, water is a resource like no one others. You may ask a person who has water, that person has thousands of problems. If you ask a person who don't have water, that person only has one problem. We need to make people aware. We have taken water for granted too long, and this is nothing that I can do, though we need to do this together, and this is just the start of a journey. Thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I will give the floor now to Oliver Röpke.
Thank you very much, dear members, for this really fruitful exchange. I have three conclusions. Actually, first of all, I see there's no region, no country which is not impacted by this topic. Droughts, extreme weather events, floodings, we see it everywhere. I'm just coming back from Sevilla, where we had this UN conference for financing for development, and 46 degrees were a stark reminder actually where we are. But what I can see is also Nordic countries are impacted. All countries are impacted. So I think this is really a stark reminder that we need this comprehensive water resilience strategy at European level. Second point, to implement it correctly, we need the strong involvement of local actors, of local authorities, but also of civil society and social partners. So I welcome this Water Resilience Forum, but I remember that recently we renewed our circular economy stakeholder platform. So maybe this could also serve as a blueprint for strong involvement of all stakeholders in implementing this water resilience strategy. And the last point, I listened to you and I fully agree that the question of financing is key. The best ideas, the best strategy can only work if we have the financial means. And therefore I would like to repeat that we need really financial instruments capable of supporting this new transition. So we have really called as ESC for water to be adopted as a strategic priority in the next MFF. And I would really like to insist on this. We also think that we need a specific EU Blue Transition Fund for water financing at EU level. We think that we need the introduction of water conditionalities in all EU funds. And last but not least, sustainable infrastructure, investment in public infrastructure is a must, is necessary, and we think that this should also deserve specific treatment under the fiscal rules in order to make really sure that we have these important investments in public infrastructure for water management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I will give the floor now to Thomas Bajada.
The message was very clear. We need tangible action. We need funding going directly to the regions. We need ambition, and we need to be forward-looking. That's why I compliment the Committee of the Regions for giving also space to two young representatives. It's something which fills me with a lot of joy and also hope for the future. There was clear messages on PFAS. Action needs to happen now, not later. The impact is now. Secondly, there was a message on innovation and the need to invest in innovation. Just a side note, in my country, Malta, 70% of our drinking water comes from desalination plants. Without them, we cannot survive. So let's invest in innovative ways of getting non-conventional water sources and water reuse. And finally, the interest from you all is very clear. We need to walk towards common goals. And that is because water is a shared responsibility, water is not infinite, and finally water is life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for our guests. Thank you very much, Oliver. Thank you very much, Commissioner, and Thomas, for coming. I'm calling for all members. You know we are preparing our opinion on water. I need your input because we want it to be meaningful for you. So we need you to give us an input. You know, we talked about it. We want to add something meaningful to simplification. Because, of course, there are a lot of ambitions. Sure, we don't know who will pay the price. There will be some simplification coming from the Commission. But for us, we need to add in what would mean a simplification from the local perspective. So please, and also host an EU local dialogue in your community. You know you have this tool, we have this tool, it's a useful tool, so please use it for the best practices. The ENVIS Secretariat is submitting these. This is the QR code, you will find it here with the ENVIS Secretariat too, so please, if anybody has the energy, it's very helpful to have these. So thank you very much, and we will see each other on Monday, as I know. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.